Where are you getting your food? The importance of local food is shining brighter more than ever these days. Have you ever heard of a victory garden? The concept of victory gardens were really established during the World Wars. In wartime, governments encouraged people to plant victory gardens, not only to supplement their rations, but to also boost morale. Two Kingscourt residents have built a victory garden in the yard, and they're here to share their story. Miguel and Carlin, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
Thank you.
So you guys, like, I think we're all thinking about it. Food. Sometimes we kind of mindlessly walk through it. We pick things up. We more of a fuel. But I think COVID has really taught us we got to pay attention to this stuff. So tell me a bit more about your garden and what inspired you to do it.
Okay. I guess we started it 4 years ago. So when we moved into our house, we finally had an outdoor space because we had been living downtown trying to buy cement, and we had grown some balcony food. But then we had a space that we could work with. And the setup of our house is such that our backyard is totally shaded. It's practically like a cave back there. So we had a front yard that gets full sun all day long from first thing in the morning until late afternoon. So it was really prime space to work with. And we're actually kind of open to that idea of growing in the front yard because it was kind of made it of more of a public statement about sharing that you're growing food with other people, maybe inspiring them. And it's a spot where when we're out there working, people stop as they're walking by and ask us questions, or they'll say, oh, you have that house with the garden in front, and they'll talk to us about it. So it's been kind of an interesting experience socially as well as food-wise.
Yeah, I think that I'd probably add that, initially I just have always thought about gardens being in the backyard, and we probably would have planted it in the backyard if we could have, but I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to plant it in the front because just the community that reaches out to us because of it, and we're able to share food, we're able to grow a lot of food in the front yard. And I mean, my goal is to kind of get rid of the lawn too, because I'm not anti-lawn, but I just think it's a waste of space, and lawns take a lot of maintenance where you could grow other great things.
Well, I think you nailed it. So maybe talk a bit more about just some of those conversations you have with people, because I hope that as humans are able to kind of get back and interact, and not just via Zoom and computers, obviously, I really hope that there's more community initiatives like this. So tell me a bit about the types of things people talk to you about when you're out there gardening in your yard.
I guess a lot of people ask about garden questions as one of them. And that's one of the neat things is, like, when we built it 4 years ago in our neighborhood, there weren't really other front yard gardens happening. But then but not in the same way. So, like, our neighbors behind us, and then down the street, and then another one around the corner, and then someone else is thinking about it. So people just start knowing what's possible when you just start doing something. It shows them what they could do in different ways. And then they'll ask questions. They'll be like, oh, you're growing something already? Like, it's been a month that it's been pretty cold this spring. I will grant that, but we've been growing things for the last month outside a little bit with like a cold frame. So people just see that, and they maybe ask questions about what are you growing in there, or when can I start this? And we'd talk to them, oh, actually you should wait until it gets warmer before you plant beans, but you could plant peas and that kind of thing.
How big is your garden?
I would say it's probably, well, I'm not very good with dimensions, but maybe 100 to 120 square feet.
Yeah, I think the front yard part is about 15 by 20.
Okay.
So the space that's enclosed, but the beds are less than that. And then we actually got a side beside our driveway on the land that actually our neighbor owns. He lets us plant in the strip beside our driveway.
For years, when I grew up, my dad, we had a lawn. It's maybe not been forever, but everyone has normalized lawns. And I totally agree with you. I think now more than ever, for environmental reasons, food security, food safety, it's very important. But it is a little bit different, though I think we're heading that way. What have other people said to you? Has anyone commented negatively, or are they just more, what are other people saying maybe on the other side?
I don't think we've really had any negative comments like directed at us, but I think I've had people ask me if we've had complaints from other neighbors. When we first started it, we checked with the city to make sure, you know, what's underneath here, because we did dig down, because we made our beds a little bit more like hugelkultur, kind of permaculture beds. So we dug some logs under the lawn when we removed it and put the soil over top.
Right, so we found where the gas lines were and how far back we had to set it from the road. We also have people ask a lot about pests. Like, I think a lot of people get, they start maybe a garden and then squirrels get in it, or rabbits eat their plants or something, and they get frustrated and they give up. And one of the things that you'll see in some of the pictures that we've shared there is we've built a barrier around it that a lot of people ask questions about that. And that barrier, it's got a fence, and it keeps like animals from directly getting to it, but then it's got a baffle with a piece of sheet metal that's bent at the top of it that stops squirrels and raccoons from climbing over the fence too. And a lot of people ask about that part, and I think that's a really important thing. Like, it's really easy to get discouraged when you're growing food at the beginning, you put work into it, and then the plant gets killed or dug up.
Yeah, you just see it coming up and it's gone.
Yeah, but there's strategies for dealing with all of those things, different pests, and I think I'd really just encourage people to be persistent. You know, start small, try something easy, but don't give up, because any kind of problem that you're encountering, somebody else has encountered it too. So we've found lots of resources online in terms of tips about when you should plant different things. You can look up planting calendars on Google for your area. You can talk to your neighbors or friends and find out strategies for dealing with different bugs. Like, we have leaf miners that were eating our chard and beets and spinach, and you can cover it and protect it and deal with slugs. There's strategies to deal with all those things. If you just start small and persist, you'll figure out ways to deal with all of them.
Well, guys, it's been really inspirational, and I know you started a while ago, but I really think, given the circumstance, more and more people are going to be questioning where their food comes from, and really not just the food piece of, you know, where is it coming from, but I think the security piece, right? Like, this has been shocking to think that we can walk into a grocery store and things aren't there. We've normalized it's always been there, but the past wasn't the same as the now, and the future won't be the same as we are now. I think always everything seems to change a bit. So I do believe in building resiliency. Is there anything you would say to others just thinking about it? We have a minute left, but anything else you'd say to anyone else just thinking, you know, maybe they don't have to start the size of their whole yard, but like, what would you say to someone just thinking about this?
Well, I think Miguel just kind of gave a good summary of that, but starting small, asking people that have gardens. I mean, we've had a lot of people ask us questions, and it's been great to talk to people and to share what we've learned. We've learned quite a bit. You know, we've made some mistakes, but I think just reaching out to other people.
I think I'd encourage people to have a learning mindset. Don't expect it to be perfect the first time. Do it like an experiment. Try things, see what happens. Grow a bunch of stuff. Some of it you might be good at, some of it you might not be. You're going to learn from the whole process, and it'll be an adventure that you could share with friends, family, whoever's around you. It's meant to be a good experience, not just for the result of it, but for the process where you're outside using your hands. And especially now when we're isolated like this, it's so good to have something like this to engage with.
How much food would you get out of your garden? Like, just roughly? Is it a bunch? Like,
it's hard to put a lot.
Yeah, we really focus on high yield vegetables. So it's things that we can keep on picking all year long after we plant it, like kale and beans and peas and tomatoes and cucumbers and things like that, zucchini. Okay. But we don't buy very much during the summertime. Once food starts coming on, we mostly shop in the garden for vegetables. We just go out and see what we're going to have for dinner and pick it. So it provides a lot for about 5 or 6 months probably. And then we freeze things too.
We've also learned what grows really quickly. So beets grow relatively quickly compared to carrots, and we've learned about starting something and then starting it again a month later, so you have food growing like peas or carrots kind of
in succession.
Well, guys, thanks so much for taking your time, letting us in your house and coming on the show today.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.